just do this. And this is kind of my way of forgetting my surroundings and kind of distracting myself and focusing on a central point so that I can kind of pick up on subtle impressions.
Hollywood medium Tyler Henry's most controversial celebrity readings explained. Every few months, a new rumor about Tyler Henry seems to take over the internet. A dramatic headline appears. Social media starts sharing clips without context, and suddenly thousands of people are convinced they've uncovered a shocking secret. One of the latest claims suggests that Henry finally revealed the darkest celebrity he has ever worked with, hinting at a mysterious reading that allegedly left him deeply disturbed. It's an attention-grabbing story, but there's one major problem. Despite how often it's repeated online, no verified interview, television appearance, or official statement shows Tyler Henry naming anyone as the most evil person he has ever read. That doesn't mean Tyler Henry's career has been free of controversy. In fact, the opposite is true. For more than a decade, the Hollywood medium has found himself at the center of debates involving celebrity readings, skeptics, believers, emotional television moments, and countless viral headlines. Some people consider him one of the most gifted spiritual mediums in modern entertainment. Others argue his abilities can be explained through psychology, observation, or careful research. Whatever someone believes, one thing is undeniable. Tyler Henry has built one of the most fascinating careers in Hollywood. Long before television audiences knew his name, Tyler Henry was just a teenager living an ordinary life in California, born in 1996. He has often said that his unusual experiences began during childhood. According to Henry, he experienced what he describes as a premonition involving the passing of his grandmother. That moment became the foundation of a journey that would eventually transform his entire future. While most teenagers were thinking about school dances or college applications, Henry says he was trying to understand experiences that few people around him could explain. As he became more confident in his reported abilities, friends, teachers, and members of his community began requesting readings. Word spread surprisingly quickly. What started as informal conversations gradually became scheduled appointments. Even before graduating from high school, Henry was conducting readings for paying clients, attracting attention from people who believed he possessed an extraordinary gift. His reputation continued growing until producers from the entertainment industry noticed a young medium with an unusual talent for connecting with grieving families. In 2016, everything changed when the television series Hollywood Medium premiered. The concept was simple but irresistible. Every episode featured Tyler meeting celebrities, many of whom hoped to receive messages from loved ones who had passed away. The format immediately attracted curiosity. Some viewers tuned in because they believed in psychic phenomena. Others watched because they wanted to see famous actors, musicians, athletes, and television personalities react during deeply emotional conversations. Still others watched simply because they were skeptical and wanted to determine whether Henry's readings appeared genuine. Regardless of why people watched, the program quickly became one of E!'s most talked about reality series. Throughout the show's run, Tyler met an impressive list of well-known personalities. Reality stars, comedians, actors, singers, television hosts, and athletes all agreed to sit across from him. Each reading unfolded differently. Some sessions were surprisingly emotional. Others contained moments that viewers described as astonishing. A few became controversial almost immediately, generating heated discussions across social media. One reason the show attracted such attention was Tyler's calm personality. Unlike many television psychics portrayed in dramatic settings with dim lighting and theatrical performances, Henry adopted a noticeably different style. He usually entered sessions carrying a notebook, sat quietly with his clients, and began describing impressions as they came to him. He frequently sketched symbols or wrote down names before explaining what he believed they represented. Supporters argued that this straightforward approach made him appear sincere rather than theatrical. Critics countered that the relaxed atmosphere made it easier for subtle conversational techniques to influence the reading. That disagreement became one of the defining features of Tyler Henry's public career. Among his earliest celebrity clients were members of the Kardashian family. Their televised reading became one of the most memorable moments of the series. Tyler discussed family members who had passed away and referenced memories connected to their late father. The emotional reaction shown on screen helped introduce millions of viewers to Henry's work and significantly expanded his audience. The Kardashians were far from the only celebrities who returned for additional readings. Several public figures who initially appeared on the show later invited Tyler back for follow-up sessions. To supporters, repeat clients suggested genuine trust in his abilities. Skeptics, however, argued that returning guests reflected successful television rather than supernatural evidence. Another widely discussed reading involved actress Jodie Sweetin. During their session, Tyler spoke about her late grandmother and conveyed what he interpreted as messages of encouragement regarding Sweetin's recovery from addiction. The actress became emotional while discussing the important role her grandmother had played throughout difficult periods of her life. For many viewers, the scene represented the comforting side of Henry's work rather than the sensational headlines that often surrounded him. Reality television personality Nicole Snooki Palizzi also experienced an emotional reading that attracted considerable attention. Tyler described connections to her late uncle, leaving the star visibly moved. She later spoke positively about the experience and even invited him to conduct additional readings involving members of her family. Those follow-up sessions reinforced Tyler's reputation among viewers, who believed his readings provided genuine comfort during times of grief. However, not every celebrity entered the room expecting to be convinced. One of the most interesting examples involved singer Boy George. Unlike many guests who approached the experience with cautious optimism, Boy George openly admitted his skepticism. During the reading, there were moments of visible tension as he questioned Tyler's statements and appeared uncertain about what he was hearing. The atmosphere became uncomfortable enough that others involved with filming reportedly encouraged him to remain open-minded. By the end of the session, Boy George expressed a far more positive opinion than he had at the beginning. Whether viewers interpreted that change as evidence of Tyler's abilities or simply an emotional television moment depended largely on their existing beliefs. Nevertheless, the episode demonstrated that not every reading followed the same predictable path. Another reading that gained attention years later involved former television host Matt Lauer. At the time it aired, the session seemed relatively routine. Tyler discussed personal family matters and memories connected to Lauer's relatives. Nothing during the reading suggested the public controversy that would later surround the television personality. When allegations against Lauer emerged the following year, and he was dismissed from his position, some viewers revisited the episode looking for hidden clues or overlooked warnings. Others pointed out that the reading itself contained no direct prediction of future events. Instead, much of the speculation developed only after unrelated news dramatically changed public perception of the former host. This pattern appears repeatedly throughout Tyler Henry's career. A reading airs on television, years pass, and later events cause audiences to reinterpret conversations through an entirely different lens. Sometimes those reinterpretations strengthen believers' confidence. Other times they fuel criticism from skeptics who argue that hindsight encourages people to see connections that weren't originally there. Perhaps that explains why so many internet rumors gain traction whenever Tyler Henry's name trends online. A short clip, removed from its original context, can quickly become the basis for dramatic headlines suggesting hidden meanings or shocking revelations. Once enough creators repeat the same story, it begins to sound established even when no independent evidence exists. The recent rumor claiming Tyler secretly identified the most evil person he ever worked with follows this familiar pattern. The headline is dramatic, mysterious, and perfectly designed to generate curiosity. Yet despite widespread sharing, there remains no verified interview in which Tyler Henry publicly named such a person. Instead, the rumor appears to have grown through repetition rather than confirmed reporting. Ironically, the truth about Tyler Henry's career may be even more interesting than the rumor itself. His work has consistently existed at the intersection of hope, grief, belief, entertainment, and skepticism. Every televised reading invites audiences to ask difficult questions about life, loss, coincidence, and the possibility of something beyond ordinary explanation. Whether someone considers Tyler Henry genuinely gifted or simply highly perceptive, his celebrity readings continue to inspire discussion years after they first aired. And as his popularity has grown, so has the number of myths surrounding his career. Separating documented events from internet speculation has become almost as fascinating as the readings themselves. In the next chapter, We'll explore the celebrity sessions that sparked the biggest debates, examine the criticism leveled against Tyler Henry by professional skeptics, and look at why his most controversial moments continue to divide audiences around the world. As Tyler Henry's popularity continued to grow, so did the scrutiny surrounding his work. It wasn't enough for viewers to simply decide whether they believed in psychic abilities. Journalists, scientists, professional magicians, and skeptical investigators all began examining his readings, searching for explanations that didn't involve communication with the deceased. The debate quickly evolved into something much larger than one television personality. It became part of a much broader discussion about belief, evidence, grief, and why millions of people are drawn to mediums in the first place. One of the most common criticisms centers on what is known as cold reading. Cold reading is a collection of communication techniques that can create the impression of extraordinary insight without requiring paranormal abilities. Practitioners may begin with broad statements, observe a person's reactions, and gradually narrow their conclusions based on verbal and nonverbal feedback. To skeptics, many of Tyler's televised readings resemble this process. They argue that emotionally meaningful details often emerge through conversation rather than appearing instantly or supernaturally. Supporters see those same moments very differently. They point to occasions when Tyler mentions names, symbols, relationships, or family memories before clients appear to provide any significant information themselves. Believers argue that these moments cannot easily be explained through observation alone. As a result, nearly every episode produces two completely different interpretations depending on the viewer's perspective. Another criticism involves what investigators sometimes call hot reading. Unlike cold reading, hot reading suggests that information is gathered before a session begins through publicly available sources, interviews, or research. Because many of Tyler's clients are celebrities with well-documented personal histories, critics argue that production staff could theoretically locate information online before filming. Tyler Henry and the production teams behind his television programs have consistently rejected those allegations. Producers have stated in interviews that efforts were made to limit advanced knowledge of guests, and that Tyler often did not know who he would be meeting until shortly before filming. While those assurances satisfy many supporters, skeptics remain unconvinced, arguing that television production naturally raises questions that are difficult to answer completely from the outside. This disagreement has followed Henry throughout his career, yet has never prevented celebrities from agreeing to sit down with him. One of the most memorable examples involved comedian and television personality Steve-O. Known for his fearless personality and willingness to challenge unusual experiences, Steve-O approached the reading with visible skepticism. As the conversation unfolded, however, he appeared increasingly emotional and reflective. Viewers who believed in Tyler's abilities cited the episode as another example of a skeptic changing his mind after a personal experience. Others noted that emotional reactions alone cannot establish whether paranormal communication occurred. Human beings naturally respond to conversations about family, loss, and cherished memories. According to psychologists, those topics can produce powerful emotional responses regardless of how the information is obtained. Once again, the same footage supported dramatically different conclusions. Another frequently discussed reading involved professional skateboarder Rob Dyrdek. During the session, Tyler suggested that Rob will become the father of a little boy despite expectations pointing in another direction. After Dyrdek later welcomed the son, many fans viewed the prediction as one of Henry's most impressive successes. Supporters often reference this reading when explaining why they continue to trust his work years later. Yet even apparent successes generate debate. Skeptics argue that audiences naturally remember dramatic predictions that appear accurate, while forgetting statements that never materialize or remain too vague to evaluate. This phenomenon, known as confirmation bias, affects nearly everyone. People tend to notice evidence supporting their existing beliefs, while paying less attention to information that challenges them. Tyler himself has acknowledged that he does not expect every reading to be perfect. In interviews over the years, he has explained that impressions can sometimes be incomplete or difficult to interpret. Rather than claiming flawless accuracy, he has compared his work to professionals in other fields who strive for consistency, while recognizing that mistakes occasionally occur. That willingness to admit imperfections has been welcomed by supporters, although critics argue that it also makes individual readings harder to test objectively. Perhaps the greatest challenge facing any public medium is that many readings involve deeply personal experiences that cannot easily be verified by outside observers. Family nicknames, private memories, symbolic objects, and emotional connections often mean everything to the client, while remaining impossible for television audiences to evaluate independently. As a result, viewers frequently rely on the client's reaction when deciding how convincing a particular reading appears. This dynamic helps explain why Tyler's programs have remained popular despite ongoing criticism. The emotional heart of each episode rarely depends on proving the existence of psychic abilities. Instead, the focus often shifts toward healing, remembrance, and conversations about loved ones who are no longer alive. Even viewers who remain skeptical sometimes acknowledge that the discussions encourage families to share stories they might not otherwise have expressed publicly. At the same time, critics argue that this emotional context makes mediumship especially difficult to evaluate. People experiencing grief are often searching for comfort, meaning, or reassurance. Skeptical organizations have therefore encouraged audiences to distinguish between emotional value and factual evidence. They emphasize that a comforting experience does not automatically confirm paranormal communication, just as skepticism alone does not automatically disprove every unusual claim. Throughout all of these debates, Tyler Henry has generally avoided direct confrontations with his critics. Rather than engaging in prolonged public arguments, he has typically emphasized that skepticism is understandable and that people should reach their own conclusions. That approach has allowed him to maintain a relatively calm public image despite years of controversy surrounding his profession. Interestingly, many of the internet rumors surrounding Tyler develop not because of what he says, but because of what others claim he has said. A dramatic headline appears on social media. Content creators repeat it without verification, and speculation quickly spreads across multiple platforms. Within days, thousands of viewers may believe a statement was made even though no original interview, transcript, or official video supports the claim. The rumor suggesting that Tyler identified a celebrity as the most evil person he had ever worked with follows this exact pattern. Despite widespread discussion online, there is still no verified recording or published interview in which he publicly makes such a declaration. Considering Tyler's long-standing emphasis on respecting client privacy, it would also represent a significant departure from the way he has consistently discussed celebrity readings throughout his career. That doesn't mean every reading has been easy. Tyler has spoken generally about emotionally exhausting sessions, heartbreaking family stories, and the personal toll that constant exposure to grief can take on someone performing this kind of work. Those experiences are well documented and align with the compassionate tone viewers have come to expect from his television appearances. What remains unsupported is a claim that he singled out one client using sensational language now circulating across the internet. In many ways, Tyler Henry's career illustrates how quickly modern entertainment and social media can reshape a story. A carefully edited clip, an eye-catching thumbnail, or a provocative title can generate millions of views long before anyone checks whether the underlying claim is supported by reliable evidence. As those stories spread, separating documented facts from online speculation becomes increasingly difficult. After years in the spotlight, Tyler Henry remains one of the most recognizable mediums in popular culture. Whether audiences view him as genuinely gifted, highly intuitive, or simply an engaging television personality, his work continues to inspire discussion around the world. The questions surrounding his abilities are unlikely to disappear anytime soon, and neither are the rumors that seem to accompany every new chapter of his career. Ultimately, the lasting story may not be about identifying a mysterious celebrity or uncovering a hidden secret. Instead, it is about why millions of people continue searching for answers to life's biggest questions, and why a figure like Tyler Henry continues to stand at the center of that conversation, balancing public fascination, personal belief, and persistent skepticism in equal measure.